The character of Syril Karn is a perfect example of what can happen to each and every one of us if we're not careful. Every one of us has a deep need, a God-given need that drives deep down into our soul that can run our lives in our pursuit of filling it. But the real danger comes when we, like Syril, find out too late that we were wrong. From the moment we were born until the moment we are laid to rest in the dirt, we have a desire to belong. We crave a place, a loving place, a place that says, this is home, this is where you are, you actually truly belong here. This is what Syril Karn was missing his entire life. This is what he needed. He needed a place to belong, but instead of finding that place in the home he was growing up in, he had to find that in the cold, hard, lifeless place that is the Empire. The Empire that only cared about achievement. What can you do? How can you get results? And so the results of the Empire became the place where Syril could find that belonging. He could find a place. And so it drove him. It created in him the very thing he wanted, to find stability and safety. And even when he was spurned and scorned by the Empire for trying to do the very thing it desired, he still pressed in even deeper. And then he found a connection, a new place to belong that was far better than the one he grew up with. It was now with Dedra Meero, because they both had this sense being filled by what they could accomplish to push the Empire's agenda and goal forward. They knew they could find that belonging where they were. This is what so many of us spent our adolescence and young adult years trying to search after, trying to find. And this is even magnified more when we grow up in a place like Syril and like Dedra, where this need is not met, where it's not nourished, where it's not grown, and we have to seek for it everywhere else except in the place that we are. So you buy into the ideology of that group. For Syril, it was the Empire. So rule following and achievement became his God, became his drug, became the thing that he had to do at all costs. And even when he disobeyed orders from his direct superior, he did it under the guise and the understanding that this was what should be done, not because of a heightened sense of morality, but because he knew that justice for those who were killed based on what had happened is what the Empire would actually want. He looked at his boss and said, "You're not doing your job. I'm going to do the job that's supposed to be done." And it's all in an effort and a desire to hear, "Well done, good job." He wants the attaboy. He wants the good job. He wants to hear that affirmation, and he thinks he can get it by following and doing everything correctly in the Empire. And so even when he's taken off the case and sent to the Bureau of Standards, he continues pressing. He continues pressing. He continues pressing. He doesn't care about the Bureau of Standards. He cares about the Empire. He cares about bringing justice under that umbrella. But this should be a cautionary tale to all of us, because blind allegiance to anything ends in disaster. And that's exactly what we see with Syril Karn. His blind allegiance first to the Empire and then to Dedra Meero gets him in a place and puts him in a place that he never thought he would be, where he's looking around and seeing that the Empire is maybe actually the evil one. Enza tried to tell him, Rylands tried to tell him, but finally it comes to light when he confronts Dedra, and all of a sudden he lurches and jumps forward out of character for what we've seen from Syril. When have we seen him get this animated? He's never lashed out like this towards his mother. He just takes it from everyone else, but he's finally breaking. He's finally starting to see the cracks. He's finally starting to question himself and question everything, and it puts him so on edge that he lashes out at the one he truly loves. And what does he find out? He didn't belong. he was being used. Even after all that, there's still one thing that remains down deep in his soul. One person he still blames for all of the bad stuff, because it's easier to point the blame at someone else than to realize the one to blame actually is yourself. And so when he looks across the square and sees Cassian Andor, he doesn't hesitate. He knows right away who it is. That image of his face has been burned into his brain. It's in his dreams. He sees it everywhere. And so when he sees Cassian, he breaks yet again, wanting to take out the one who has done all this to him. He wouldn't be here if not for Cassian. And Cassian is the scapegoat, the one to blame. And so as they're fighting, everything is kind of coming to a head for Syril. He is using all of his anger and aggression that's been pent up and built up, and he's able to get Cassian in the place where he wants him. He's ready to execute him. But then something happens that he wasn't ready for. All of that aggression is stripped away in an instant when Cassian asks the question,
"Who are you?"
In an instant, we see who Syril really is. He's been chasing this ghost for years. For him, Cassian represents everything that is wrong about the rebels. He's a murderer. He's a thief. He's the one who's brought all of this problem. He's the one who's instigating everything. If he would just stop and obey the Empire, everything would be right and in order. But then Syril does something different. He doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't kill Cassian, because instead he lowers his weapon. Something has changed. Something all of the sudden has switched in Syril's mind, but it's too late. He came to this realization at the very end of his life. And it's in that last moment that all of a sudden Syril asks a question that he's never asked before. What if I'm wrong? It's this question, if we are unwilling to truly ask ourselves, then we will end up in the same exact place as Syril. We will become Syril Karn if we are unwilling to ask ourselves the question, what if I'm wrong? Syril in this instance is asking, what if the Empire isn't right? What if the Empire is wrong? What if the rebels are right? What if the Empire is truly the evil one? What if my hatred is not justified back towards Andor? You see, he's seen the other side of it now. He's seen the Gorman people be agitated and intentionally provoked by the Empire. He sees that the plan all along has not been to squelch or stop a rebellion, but to use the rebels as a tool, as an instrument, as the fall guy to make everything work in favor of the Empire. More than ever, Syril now identifies with the rebellion, not the Empire. Why? Because he's been used and abused. He's been put in a position just simply to make things look a certain way, to give the evidence they need, just to be able to give the information and the propaganda and everything, all because they just want to mine the calcite in the ground. And it's the mining ships, it's Rylance's conversation, it's Dedra Meero saying what she said, that hey, we're going to get promoted for this, we're going to get what we always have wanted, to be together. Yet Syril is realizing that's not enough. It's not just to have companionship. I need to know that I belong, that I have a home, that what I'm doing is truly right. And it's this one brief scene that takes Syril Karn from being the one we despise, the one who won't let Cassian go, the one who's doing evil things in the name of the Empire, to a cautionary tale, to one now that we have empathy for, almost one that we are sad for, because he was just used like everyone else. So if we are unwilling to ask the question if we are wrong, we cannot be surprised when one day we will be standing in confusion just like Syril, wondering how we got here, wondering how we could be so wrong about everything we've chosen to follow. So take this as your invitation to think more deeply, to ask more questions, to have real conversations with people that you might actually disagree with, to find out at the core of it, what is it that you truly believe, and have you been putting your belief and trust in a lie? Have you been brought up to believe something that isn't true? Or maybe you just might find out that when you come to investigate the thing you've been told about your whole life, it might actually also be true. Now, I think we're too afraid to ask this question because we don't want to be Syril Karn. We don't want to be the one who gets stuck there realizing what I've believed is a lie. But what if what you're believing is actually true? You won't know that until it's challenged. And that's what's so beautiful about this scene, about this just split-second moment where the gun drops and Syril's face changes. I believe there was a change in him. I believe that he had gone from the one who had hatred in his heart to the one who realized the real problem is the Empire. Now, maybe I'm choosing to believe that, but again, everything in Andor is calculated. Every scene is shown. Every frame is intentional. He wouldn't have dropped the gun if not for that split-second moment where I think he's asking the question, what if I'm wrong?